What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James, man. I'm back in the building, man. You see what it is. We got a game to call today, so we'll see. But today's topic is to Zeke or not to Zeke. That is the question. And the main reason why we're talking about that is because we just seen recently after the Dallas Cowboys just lost in their playoff game against the San Francisco 49ers, Ezekiel Elliott has come in the media and spoken to the media about, his pending future. Obviously, we know that the Cowboys can cut loose Ezekiel Elliott and not take a major hit. They can save money, about $10 million, I believe, if they make a post-June cut, I believe June 1st. Go check out my guy, Frankie. I got it on my community page. He breaks down the contract, and even on Twitter, Frankie J. Go check him out. He has good stuff. Go check out my community page. He breaks down the contract from Ezekiel Elliott. But like I said, to Zeke or not to Zeke. And we know Ezekiel's been a warrior, dog. I'm going to be the first to tell you, Zeke has been an absolute warrior since he's been here in Dallas. He's been a dog. His first 4 years were absolutely amazing. He's the third leading rusher in Dallas Cowboys history. What he did and what he's done in Dallas was nothing short of amazing in 7 years. Been an animal, been a warrior. Guy you can count on week in and week out. The last couple of years, he started getting the injury bug, and I believe that's just because of the carries. He has 1,880 carries, I believe, in his career. I think that's the most carries in the NFL since he's been in the NFL. I think he's first. Don't quote me on that one, but I think it's correct. And what can you say about him? He's just been an absolute animal. Zeke, we know. I mean, what can you say? Zeke has been a dog. I can't dispute that, take anything away from him. He's been an animal. But like all good things, things must come to an end eventually. And I feel like it's right about that time. He's 27 years old. And I feel like he's an old 27 for the fact that he's got a lot of tread on the tires. And this was his worst statistical year, 858 yards, 898 maybe, around that. Lowest output in his whole career. Career low average yards per carry, I believe. He averaged over 100 yards his first year, and now he's down to 58. And every single year he's been in the league, his yards per game has went down. But he's still a steady 4.4 career average guy, 80 yards a game guy, which is damn good. But if you take 17 games and 1,000 yards, it's only 58 yards a game. So it's not really amazing like it used to be back in the day when I was coming up. If you got a running back and got 1,000 yards, you were the upper echelon. Not the case now. You have to be a 1,300 to 1,500 yard back to be the upper echelon. And Zeke is not that anymore. He doesn't have that type of breakaway speed any longer. He's more of the physical. He's always been a downhill back, but he's more of the physical back. And I feel like you really have to have a really good line in front of him now for him to really be effective. If you don't have a good line in front of him now, I don't think he's as effective. And I just don't feel like he puts fears in teams any longer. When Tony Pollard went out in that game against San Francisco, I feel like San Francisco was like, yeah, let's just go ahead and stack the box. Ezekiel Elliott really didn't do anything afterwards, and I just felt like the offense was going to be slow. It wasn't going to be the offense that it was when Tony Pollard was in there. Tony Pollard averaged 5 yards carry in his career. You see the explosiveness that he adds, and he's not a little back. He's 6 foot, about 215 pounds, and he just adds so many things. And I just feel like I also heard in the air that it wasn't a break, and so that's good for him. We'll see what happens. I said, please, Dallas, don't franchise him because it's $12 million tag for a running back, I believe, a $10 million tag for a franchise. I said, don't tag him. Just let's make that work because you don't want to pay $12 million for 1 year for a running back and you don't know what's going to happen. I just feel like that's going to be disgruntled. So I feel like they have to work that out. And I've already made the video. Go check out my Tony Pollard video, and I broke down all the numbers. You can do a 3-year deal. And if you're getting $10 million back from Zeke, if you let him go, use that money for Pollard. You get what I'm saying? But if you're asking me, in my opinion, what they should do to Zeke or not to Zeke, I think it's just time to move on. I feel like that two-back system that they were doing the last couple of years was working, but now you got a guy, Malik Davis, you actually saw this year, and other than the Rico Dowdell and those guys, Malik Davis was legit. He's not the power runner like Ezekiel Elliott. He's not the guy like Ezekiel Elliott, so I'm not even saying that. But what I am saying, he's a north-south runner. He's compact, 5'10", about 210. I feel like he's going to get bigger. Maybe he might be bigger than that already. Might be 220, 225. Might be 220. But I definitely feel like he getting that weight room, that strength and conditioning program, he's going to get bigger and stronger. And he doesn't shy away from the contact. He looked good in his spot duty in games. And you can see where it could work. And I just feel like it's time. You got to have explosiveness in this offense. This offense was so much better to me when Tony Pollard was in, because you had to respect him. You had to respect that speed. You had to respect that breakaway ability. You had to respect that, because any given play he could take to the house. When Ezekiel Elliott was in, you crowd the line of scrimmage and he's not going nowhere. It wasn't breaking big yard gains. And I just feel like, the time is past. And I feel like Jerry and the organization really love him. So I said when DeMarcus Lawrence signed his deal, they were going to do a DeMarcus Lawrence type deal for Ezekiel Elliott, 2-3 year deal to keep him here in his duration of his career. And then, from there you either retire or whatever. But in my opinion, I just don't feel like that would be the way to go, because you need explosive weapons for Dak. Everybody been screaming, get with Dak weapons, get Dak weapons. Well, I feel like Malik Davis, the combo of Tony Pollard and Malik Davis is weapons. And you can draft a running back just like you did in Pollard in 2019. After the 4th round, you can find somebody that can come right in there and do it too. But you need explosive weapons for Dak Prescott, and Tony Pollard is one of them you need to keep. Malik Davis is a good weapon. And I just feel like Ezekiel Elliott's time is done, and I just don't feel like there's going to be a market for Ezekiel Elliott. If you let him go, back in the day, they used to bring in players or running backs. They were past their prime. Eddie George, when he came to Dallas, he was past his prime, but he was a name. So Dallas brought him in. And what happened? He was a failure in Dallas. And then when Emmitt Smith, when his time was done, we knew he was done. He went over to Arizona. We knew it wasn't going to do anything. And even DeMarco Murray, he wasn't finished because he had a pretty decent career, a couple of years at Tennessee with Derrick Henry before he took over. But we saw in Philly it was bad. So running backs only have a certain amount of shelf life. And I feel like you've seen the injuries the last couple of years, the nagging little injuries here and there. I feel like that's what happens when you get carries. I think he's had the most carries, like I said, since 2016, since he's came to the league, he's had the most carries in the league. That wears on your body. It's eventually going to break down. And I just feel like if you're talking about explosiveness and what you need, you can work it with Malik Davis and you can work it with Tony Pollard. And as much as you love a player, eventually they're going to be gone. All of them. Eventually, they're all going to be gone. And I just feel like this is the time. 27 years old, not getting any younger, a lot of tread on the tires. I just feel like it's time for Dallas to go ahead and make that move, make Tony Pollard the feature back, make it Malik Davis as the backup, and then get you a back after the 4th round. I just feel like that's the smarter thing to do. You're not going to be killed by the contract for Tony Pollard. Malik Davis is super cheap because he was undrafted. So you have money to work with, especially if you get that money back from Ezekiel Elliott. But when we're talking about to Zeke or not to Zeke, that is the question. I'm going to go with to not to Zeke because, if they brought him back on that deal with like a DeMarcus Lawrence, I wouldn't be mad, but I would be a little frustrated because I just feel like what now on the field is Ezekiel Elliott offering now? Great blocker, short yardage. He's not a 20 carry guy any longer. And if you made him a feature back, let's say Pollard was out 5 games. Ezekiel Elliott's your feature back. Do we really think Ezekiel Elliott is really going to make this offense explosive? I don't believe so. It's not going to be explosive with Ezekiel Elliott in there any longer. It's not. It's not explosive when he comes in the game. It's not, he gets tough, dirty yards. He gets the dirty yards like Garrett used to say. He gets dirty yards, but you don't get that explosive plays. Tony Pollard had over 10 plays of 10 plus yards, I think over 5 to 6 of 20 plus. So he brings that explosive element. And even Malik Davis has that little bit of wiggle. Even though he's a north-south guy, he still got a little bit of wiggle to show that he got that juice too. And I just feel like if you look at it in the whole scope of what you're trying to do with the free agents out there that the Dallas Cowboys are going to have this season, I just think it's, in my opinion, best for both parties, you know, to move on and let's see what Pollard can do, and let's see what Pollard and Malik Davis can do. I don't think your team falls off if you don't have Ezekiel Elliott anymore. I don't believe that. And I just don't feel like there's going to be a heavy market for Zeke. If you let Ezekiel Elliott go, I don't feel like teams are going to be beating down his door to sign him. I think they see the same thing. He's not going to be a feature back somewhere. I don't believe that. He'll be a secondary back. I believe that's why he wants to come back to Dallas, because he's not a dumb athlete as far as he sees. If I go somewhere else, maybe, they're not going to look at me like Ezekiel Elliott. They're going to look at me like you was Ezekiel Elliott. Whereas in Dallas, they'll still give him those props. You go somewhere else, I don't think so. I think they're going to look at him like you're a regular back and you're going to be treated regular. And I think that's one of the reasons why he wants to stay too, because you're enjoying the good life in Dallas. You're not going to enjoy the good life somewhere else, because they're not going to look at you like they look at you in Dallas. Your jersey still sells. You're still beloved by Jerry. You're still beloved by a lot of people here in Dallas. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why you want to stay. It's smart. That's one of the reasons why you take a pay cut, because you're probably going to have your best time here in these later years than anywhere else. So it's smart on his part. But in my opinion and my thoughts, it's time. It's time to go ahead, re-sign a Pollard. And most running backs don't receive 3 contracts. They don't do that nowadays. You're a rare running back if you can get 3 contracts out of a team. Most you get 1, maybe 2 if you're super elite, which he was. He got those 2 deals, but now I feel like it's just time. Go ahead, sign Pollard, make Malik Davis your backup, and get another guy either in the draft or not free agency, or get him in after the free agency pool, undrafted free agent. That's how you got Malik Davis. So, in closing, once again, to Zeke or not to Zeke, I'm gonna go to not to Zeke. Sign Tony Pollard. You don't gotta franchise him. You can work out definitely a good deal. Make Malik Davis your number 2, and then get a third back in the fold and see how that goes. But you want weapons. You want explosive weapons for Dak. I feel like those are 2 weapons, Malik Davis and Tony Pollard, that you can really counteract with teams. And I think you'll see some good explosiveness there for Dak next year. And I think that would really be good for him, because I think Malik Davis is a good sneaky back. And him and Pollard, I think that'd be a good combo. And we haven't seen it yet, but I definitely want to see it. So those are my 2 cents on this. Let me know how you think or how you feel. You can make please feel free to comment in this video how you feel. Should you keep Zeke? Should you not keep Zeke? Should you move on? Should you sign him to a DeMarcus Lawrence type deal, a couple years, 2-3 years, and make him just be solely the backup and the closer? Or do you say, let's just go ahead and move on, Malik Davis as the number 2, Tony Pollard as your lead, and let's go hard and let's do it like that. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you guys feel about the video and the subject at hand. And then, I'll go through them myself. We'll see about the final word. I got a game tonight. It's going to be crazy snow out here. Got a snowstorm, so we'll see how it happens that tonight. But keep on checking during the week. Best of Enemies podcast is coming up Thursday. I'm about to get the business from all them Philly fans. It's going to be, I'm dreading it because I'm going to hear all that noise, but I ain't scared. I ain't running from it. Let's do it. And then let's get ready for that draft coming up. Got my draft videos ready. I got all the schools. We're going to see a lot of good draftable players. Best of Enemies podcast will be popping that draft left and right, and I'll be doing my own. So it's going to be a good time. We'll see who gets drafted. We'll break down players. You know how we do. Been doing it 2-3 years, 4 years running. So it's not going to stop. But let me know what you think about the video. Give me your thoughts on Ezekiel Elliott, to Zeke, to not to Zeke. And let's go from there. But it's Big Game James. I'll talk to you soon. I'm out. Peace.